Good morning, friends. Well, isn't this exciting? I'm laughing to myself because last night I made a long video describing the current situation with the green and white resonance, the controversy in the Schumann charts, and an explanation of sort of the movements here. So I'm going to upload that. My internet is very slow, so I have to go find somewhere to upload that. But I'm going to do a quick 10-minute video on this awesome spike of the white resonance this morning in this morning's chart and talk a little bit about the meaning. So look for that longer video as well a bit later in the day, in probably the early afternoon California time. Okay, so here is an exciting thing that happened at the same time that the white resonance popped here. There was an almost M-class flare. And I say almost M-class flare because the number isn't out at the moment when I looked at the chart right before the recording, but it's very high in C level, almost touching M-class. So I don't know if it's C, if it's like a C 0.8 or 0.78, I don't know, but we'll find out a little bit later today. So I thought the interesting thing was that before this M-class flare happened, that's when the waves started to come in. And I've talked in my beginner video, just with a basic overview listed below of the Schumann resonance, I talk about how I believe the magnetic fields of the Earth are affected by the sun, and I give a visual. Actually, it's a video from NASA that shows that. And so it's interesting. I did have to wonder if there was an anticipation here of this large M-class flare. But I think the other thing is that we wanted this. We've been wanting this. And I'm going to talk about this in much more detail in the video later today. So let's see what happened. And the other thing that happened that was interesting is, so the chart shifted today, December 7th, on local time for the chart. You see this here down at the bottom. What you're seeing here is that the chart was very active into the high hertz. So down here is up to 40 hertz. And what it looks like to me is that these energies were already over 40 hertz at some level. If we could see further into the higher hertz, even before this large wave in the white resonance started. And it looks like, there may be something else that comes here. We'll have to see what happens. It could finish here or it could continue. So I'm interested to see. But like what I'm saying here is because you don't normally see this much patterning. Okay, now with a wave you would, but this was without a wave. So that's why I think that the energies were already building for, a good 20 hours before the wave occurred. And that is fascinating. Let me show you something else that happened behind the scenes. Right as the wave of white resonance amplified, got really strong, and right before the M-class flares, the frequency of every resonance dipped down to the bottom end of its current range. And I think that was very interesting as well. It's almost like I often think of these M-class and C-class flares as poking us and poking our energy fields. I see this as interacting with the human energy field and, inspiring us to action or activating our fields to action. And what it looks like is that was at the lower end of the frequency range. And maybe there's even clearing of energies at this level. The other interesting thing that happened was all of the, of course, amplitudes spiked. That's why there was a wave on the chart. The white amplitude spiked to 35, which for a wave is moderate. And that is why the wave went about halfway down the chart, rather than, going, sort of further down the chart. But its effects are obviously felt into the 40 plus hertz range. I talked about how, oh, hold on, let me go to the next one. Here's the qualities, and this is really the clearness of the resonance, of the frequencies of the resonance. And there were two interesting things that happened here. The first was that there was a spike right before, the spike was right as the wave of white resonance was rising and activating, and it continued. It spiked again right here, a second lower spike, when the M-class, just about when the M-class flare was activating. And I thought that was so interesting, because what it feels like to me is that energies are clearing from the bottom end of the frequency range, and specifically, especially, in the red resonance range and in the yellow. Because look at what happened at the yellow. The yellow quality boosted up to 59 about when we started having all the activity prior to the large wave. Okay, so I said that happened for about 20 hours. Well, at the beginning of that 20 hours, about 2 hours in, what happened was this big spike in yellow. I've mentioned before that the yellow and the red don't show a lot on the chart. So let's look and see what happened here. So this right here at about 2 a.m. is where that spike occurred, okay? And look what happened or didn't happen, okay? You don't see a big meaningful expression of the yellow. We can go to the amplitudes and see that the amplitudes for the yellow were, they were low. Let's see here, about 4.6, so they were low, okay? And that could contribute to there not being any images as well, but the fact is that the yellow and the red are kind of like in supporting roles when it comes to the spectrogram. It's not often the case that you see a big yellow image. Sometimes a big red image, and that'll often be infused with yellow. But this is what was going on. And it's interesting because when that yellow spiked, what there was an activation. See here the white resonance? That's where the action was. And let's look at what the hertz are there. Okay, that includes the line of 3.3 to 3.6 hertz that I talked about 2 videos ago in my quick 10-minute video. And then it also included a lower line of hertz. Now this is in our subconscious brainwaves, 0 to 4 hertz. And so what it looks like at that time that happened is there was kind of some connecting going on in the subconscious, okay? And it hasn't come to the surface yet here. It took, well, there was a, I don't know if I talked about this in the last video or if it's in one of the videos I'm going to release, but this kind of shadow element of white, it's like a cloak. We've got that here. But it started to activate, started to come into our consciousness here. Okay, so that's about about 15 hours in. And then boom, it built and we had this huge wave. Now the wave is kind of shaped like a knife, really. And I want to talk about the energy now and then quickly wrap up because I want to keep the video to about 10 minutes. So in terms of energy, what does this mean? In terms of energy, what I see here for today's chart and the meaning is that the light is ours to wield in our lives through our authority as divinely incarnate children of the Creator. This white wave tends to represent expanded dimensional energies, our connection with the Creator's support from the celestial realms. And it's shaped like a knife now. And this is a key time to engage, develop, really hone that highest discernment and trust your own knowing and inner guidance. We can rely on this in our lives to guide us. and to use it to drive the actions that we take in the world and the choices that we make in our lives. And the fact of the matter is that what the energies are saying to me here is that the energies are ripe for everything from making inner choices, using this clear discernment backed by this power, the celestial power, and higher dimensional power and divine connection that it represents. The energies are ripe for making inner choices, for making the effort to develop and apply discernment in your life. And then in divine timing, as it rolls out, acting on these in your life and in the world. And the timing is going to be different for all of us based on the specific circumstances and our own energetic makeup and what's going on in our lives. But the time is now to begin and put this discernment into play. And what that means is that something interesting is coming, right? Where we activate that discernment now, and it'll be those of us that activate it, right, will be in key positions in our lives for what comes next, and that is very exciting.